So, 8 or 9 year old little Desmond. Keep that in your head. So, Brother Thomas, man of towering and slender build, especially compared to all the children, and Sister Vivandra is the human's half-elven counterpart. So basically doing their best to raise all of you guys of just children of varying races, mainly humans and half-elves, right? But even amongst you guys, there are a few children that are exceptionally small, even for their age. Young Desmond probably doesn't completely understand this, but maybe finds it a little bit odd, and maybe understands what a halfling is, but not really fully grasping that when you're adults, you're going to look very different, even more different than you do now. For now, they're just smaller children that are the same age. On this particular day, everybody, it's a typical day, going through the routine. There are very old books, spines are falling apart, that all the kids are using to read from. All of you have been taught Common, how to read and write. So everyone was good at speaking Common, but Brother Thomas and Sister Vivandra taught you guys how to read and write. It's a big deal. And as you know, servants of Ioun, they worship Ioun, even though they don't receive favor from Ioun in the land of Nevin at this particular time. They still follow the ideals of pursuing knowledge and studying the arcane. You're caretakers, essentially, where they've got simple commoner's clothes. They spend the most of the money, any money that they receive, on mainly food for everyone, but also on clothing and upkeep, like repair on shelter, that kind of thing. And they just recently received a very large donation made by a private donor. And there's a large chest in the like a lockbox in this one room building that serves as everything, just everything. The living quarters, kitchen, dining room, bedroom. It's where you guys live and do and be. Whenever you wake up, your cots, some of them like double stacked cots, basically simulating bunk beds. They always get pushed over to the side of the room when you guys get up to make room for the rest of the day, so that you guys can run around and play and sit down and learn and do your lessons and eat. On this particular day, you guys are learning, or at least brother and sister are trying to teach everyone about stories about things that happened a long time ago, and essentially the basics of history. But this wonderful person that donated all this money has all of your orphan brothers and sisters very excited. Thomas and Vivandra are both very happy. They seem very joyful and a bit brighter than normal. Everybody's going to get new beds, and updated clothing. It's very exciting. But Brother Thomas sees you and sees that you're daydreaming a little bit, and that you're not entirely interested in your books and your studies. And he approaches you, kind of as he's speaking aloud to the rest of the class, or to the rest of the children, and instructs everyone to read on their own for a little bit. And he approaches you and he kneels down, and he basically gets on your level, and he says, Desmond, are you not interested in history? In learning history?
It's just a little bit boring, to be honest.
Well, what's on your mind? It's important to know these things, but I understand I can't just tell you that. Tell me what's on your mind.
Oh, just wishing I could be outside playing.
He smiles warmly at you, reaches over and ruffles your hair, and he said, There will be a time for play, and there's a time for work. And I can assure you, Desmond, that learning these lessons may be boring, as you said, but in the long run, they will help you more than they hurt you now. I learned that lesson maybe when I was your age, and so did Sister Vivandra.
I suppose.
He laughs and he tells you maybe one day you'll be in one of these books.
Speaking of books, and I'm going to grab the book that is like my trinket.
Yeah.
But it's a book that tells the story of a legendary hero's rise and fall with the last chapter missing. And so I want to pull that book from, just kind of where I'm sitting, because he said to free read or whatever. I want to pull that out and kind of show him and look at Brother Thomas and say, I've been reading this one, but it seems the last part's missing. Have you read this one before? And I hand it to him.
He takes a look at it and he opens it up. And he says, I've read a lot of books, but I haven't read this one, Desmond. What's it about?
It's about a brave hero. The only thing I don't like about it is at the end, he's not so much of a hero. And that's what I was hoping you could tell me, is if that last chapter, if he becomes a hero again, or if all heroes eventually fall.
Well, Desmond, I can't say the fate of this particular hero, but I know that for any hero, what makes them a hero is the choices that they make. Heroes will typically always choose others over themselves. And so, if your hero in this book did something and chose somebody else over himself, then I'd say he stayed true to his heroism. He stayed a hero. And maybe that's for you to decide. Maybe you can write that.
I hope I can be a hero someday.
I think you will be, Desmond. And one of the best ways to learn how to be a hero is to learn what's in these books here. That way you can avoid some of the mistakes that other people have made. That's what we're talking about right now, is some of the cruel things that people have done to each other in the past. Hopefully, we can learn from their mistakes and not do those things in the future, so that we can all be heroes in our own way. He pats your head again as he stands back up, and he readdresses all of the children. The day kind of continues on as normal, per usual. So that night, everyone's kind of winding down, performing their usual routines, basically getting ready to go to sleep in preparation for another day of learning, another day of fun. This night, though, was different than a normal night. You fell asleep quickly, as you normally do. The You fall into a dream, and you're brought out of that very suddenly, very startlingly. At first, because it was dark, you couldn't tell if you were still inside your dream or if you were just groggy, just awake and groggy from being asleep. Sometimes those two feelings get mixed together. But you felt like you heard a sound, a noise from outside the orphanage. You look up to the window, and fear strikes your very soul as a shadow creeps along, passes across the kind of sheer curtain that blocks the wind from getting inside. You have a very heightened sense of danger in your mind right now. You hear some more voices outside. You can't really tell what they're saying. You feel like something awful is going to happen. It doesn't seem like this is supposed to be happening. Usually, when other adults are around, when other people are around, it seems like Brother Thomas and Sister Vivandra are in control, and everything's being handled, and everything is as it should be. Even if it's not in reality, it seems like it is, because they're always on top of everything. Well, they're asleep right now, and you don't know what it is and why this is happening this way, but something's wrong. You have with your heightened sense of danger, you slip off of your cot, you get under your bed, and you scoot as closely to the wall as you can, just getting out of reach, getting out of sight. Not too long after you find a safe place, the main door explodes open, and a rush of activity just runs in, and you hear people shouting. Children are starting to wake up and starting to scream. And just this wave of anxiety and stress just washes over the entire orphanage. You hear the ring of steel. Everything that happens after this is kind of a blur. Everything just kind of starts happening at once. Brother Thomas and Sister Vivandra are putting up a fight. And you can tell because of all the flashes of light, like fireworks inside the orphanage. And you hear men and women, older men and women, some of them screaming in pain, some of them screaming out of what sounds like anger. Like I said, the sounds of steel, but also the sounds of steel on cloth and steel on flesh. The sounds of bones cracking, gurgling, and just things that are grotesque and things that would continue to haunt your dreams for a very long time. Brother Thomas and Sister Vivandra become silent. The flashes of light go away. The screaming of all the other children in the building die out, and the rest of the sounds are boots walking across the wooden floor, and you look from your safe spot under the bed. You look around, and you see the lifeless gaze of a man that you don't recognize. He's wearing leathers and what looks like to be like traveling clothes. He's looking right at you, and it frightens you at first that you have been found, but you realize that he's not looking at you, but kind of through you, just a dead gaze. One of the things that catches your eye is you look at his leather vest, and sewn in as a patch, you see the symbol of a closed fist. Notably, you hear the invaders take the chest. You hear the sound of the coins inside that the donor had given to the orphanage days before. And it sounds like they got into the food store. After they finished taking everything that they came for, they leave, and you wait for hours until the sun comes up. And only then do you feel like it's safe to come out. When you crawl out from under the bed, the scene you find yourself in, you can't fully comprehend. pieces of children lie everywhere. The friends you've grown up with all lying lifeless and haphazardly tossed on their beds. Some of them torn in half from heavy swords and heavy axes, but all of them just a gruesome mess. You find Thomas and Vivandra over on one side of the room, both of their bodies mutilated beyond full recognition. The only thing that you find unmarred in the building is a small symbol of Ioun that you recognized as Brother Thomas's necklace that must have been torn away in the struggle. So you take it with your hands shaking uncontrollably, and you run. You run as hard and fast and far as you can until you drop to your knees and you succumb to exhaustion. When you wake up, you find yourself in a warm bed and in new clothes and in an unfamiliar house. A human couple, Gavin and Alana, have taken you in, and they're caring for you, and they will continue to care for you in the best way they know how. And so they raise you properly until your 18th birthday, and you have no recollection of, or you have no recollection of what happened to your symbol of Ioun, and you continue to have nightmares. But as time went on, as the years go by, the experience becomes a memory, and the memory becomes a nightmare, and the nightmare becomes a more obscured nightmare. Some details you forget. You never forget the clenched fist on that man's leather vest. On your 18th birthday, your parents give you a gift, and when you open it up, it is the symbol of Ioun that you that used to be Brother Thomas's. And suddenly all of the memory, the entire experience comes flooding back 100%. It serves as a reminder of the horrors you witnessed, but also bringing back to light your own cowardice. Now, looking back, you were merely a boy. What would you have done? What could you have done to do anything to help? But you couldn't get over the fact that you knew inside that you were afraid and that you were fearful, and that you felt like you let your friends and your caretakers die while you did nothing. The cowardice you couldn't handle in the moment, and so you broke this symbol. Maybe out of fear, maybe out of anger or frustration with yourself or what happened, but even the breaking it being a symbol in itself of signifying that you needed to break from this side of your life entirely. And so coming to this realization, you leave to find your own way.
Well, and I didn't write this in my backstory, but the more I thought about it, I would have traveled searching for something, not sure what, but basically some sort of strength or, something stronger than Ioun. Because in my mind, Ioun didn't step in to help, didn't do anything. I couldn't do anything. The brother and sister, Thomas and Vivandra, they had Ioun. They were serving Ioun, and even their god didn't help them. And so right. I would have been traveling, looking for something or somebody that their actions shown proof of support. And so I'm thinking that I would have gone to maybe the southern town. Was it Tavares? Is that the one that's real south by the ocean? Maybe I would have gone somewhere like that and I would have just been, I don't know, maybe watching, maybe in a like a bar, or just like in an inn, just kind of hanging out, and then maybe watch like a fight break out, and I kind of freeze up, like I want to help, like I want to do something, like I see what's going on is wrong and I don't like it, but I'm just frozen. And then right as I'm like, half of me is like, do something, step up, and I'm just frozen to my chair. Mm-hmm. A Goliath figure walks up and just like, grabs both of the guys and just like throws them across, and basically says, this isn't honorable. You're fighting over coins or cards or something like that. And as I'm just frozen there, I just see this figure, and I'm just like, that guy.
And that's Gorkis.
Yeah, like these guys could have even like have pulled daggers out. Gorkis doesn't care. He just walks up and he's just like, hey, put those little pig stickers away. This isn't honorable. Get out of here. Basically kicks him out. And then after he does that, I would have tried to muster up the courage to be like, hey, who are you? How do I be like you? And then he would have been in town, I guess, like just during a break,
right,
during the sailing or whatever. And so like soon thereafter, I would have kind of tagged along with him.
Gotcha. And that's where you join what was it?
The Willow Strider.
The Willow Strider.
With Captain Lazarus.
All right, so we end up in Tavares, and we kind of go to that port town to the south of it, even further south. Tavares would have been a really great stop because it's a major city. It's where a lot of you can get a lot of like international trade going, and so it's a kind of a hot spot. It would be a good place to pick up new supplies to carry to like Holly Tirith or another city. So you join the ranks of the Willow Strider underneath Captain Lazarus, and so you're starting to learn to be a deckhand. A ship like that, and it's got sails.
Yeah.
If it's got a main mast and then like the front and the back sails, you need a good number of people to keep all that managed.
Good number of people to man it, and then a good number of like extra people to, basically trade out with them. So like for every one job, there'd be another man to take that man's place if he was sleeping or eating or whatever.
To rotate. Gotcha. Good. So you're looking at a good 20 strong to manage this ship. You are basically out on the high seas. Looking right, you can see shore. Sometimes looking left, you can see shore. It doesn't happen too often, but every now and then you go out so far that you can't see shore anywhere. You're further than the eyes can see, and you find it particularly freeing being out here in the open ocean like this. Gorkis himself, working alongside him, you learn more from what he does than you do from what he says. He doesn't say much. Every now and then, though, every so often there will be a night where you guys aren't working together, and you're becoming basically a man at this point, and your skin is becoming tanned, and you're starting to get calluses on your hands. Your muscles are starting to grow from just the physical labor that you're having to do. And for Gorkis, he's got a bigger build, and to do what he's doing, you're having to put in, maybe a time and a half of the effort that he is to do the same thing. And so you're trying to keep stride along him and do what he does and do it as he does. Every now and then, like on nights where you have like a break, you'll talk to Gorkis and ask him about Cord and ask him about home. What's home for him, and he would have shared with you stories of Roke, the city to the north, the great Goliathan city. with walls made by Goliaths for Goliaths, and doors and buildings that are all just huge by comparison to human cities. But he himself came from a just kind of a more nomadic traveling group that lived outside of Roke. Most of the Goliathan are keep to their more traditional nomadic ways rather than getting in a civilized city like Roke. And he would have shared with you that some of the glory days that he had growing up with he and his family and other rivaling tribes. In that he would talk about warfare and asking him, about that seems surprising, right? That tribes would just go out and kill each other, and no, he would explain to you, you don't understand. We don't have warfare to kill each other. We have warfare it's sport. We would fight to honor Cord. We fight to show strength, to show honor, to show true heroism, standing up for your friends, putting yourself in danger so that others might be saved. And it's more to honor those that sacrificed their lives in the past than to they didn't war to have to take from other tribes. They would it was more for tradition than anything. And occasionally somebody would die in combat like that. It just kind of inevitably happens. Somebody gets hit in the head hard enough, and and they're out. But when that happens, those people are revered as fallen heroes, and songs are sung about their glory and their triumph in glory, in basically death and glorious combat. He goes quiet when asking about why he left, and he never spoke in a lot of words, not a lot of descriptive words, but he would just say, "Your great council." And their holy crusaders. They are not good. They are not honorable. And that's about all you could get out of him. He would often look at the stars whenever you asked him about this kind of subject matter, and so you wouldn't probably press it too much. And so teaching you about Cord, he basically teaches you that strength is more than the physical aspect of strength. Strength is and strength is not being unafraid. Strength is recognizing your fear and acting in spite of it. Standing up to defend your family, to defend your friends. You're reminded of of what Brother Thomas told you about what it meant to be a hero, and you realized that Gorkis is what a hero looks like, and so it brings back some nostalgia of those days in the orphanage, and you find yourself going back to your book that you still have and kind of filling in the blanks yourself of those last pages. Gorkis would have taught you. Other people would have taught you as well, but being close to Gorkis, he would be okay teaching you how to fight, and he would have tossed you a shield, a wooden shield if you wanted it, and whatever kind of weapon that you wanted. Swords were the most common, so a long sword and a wooden shield would have suited you just fine. And the reason that you guys learn how to fight is that while there are a lot of defenses set up in and around Nevin. The open sea is a bit of a different jurisdiction. It takes a lot of resources to police the sea, and pirates can much more easily sail around and take from trading ships like yours. So the only way that you have to defend yourself is by defending yourself. You can't go get the holy defenders to stand up for you. On one particular night, you hear a bell start ringing from the what would it be, the crow's nest up there? Mm. Yeah.
Yep.
And signaling and pointing out that there was an approaching ship coming from the east. And now you probably would have been around somewhere close to Beholder's Bane Island, maybe heading northeast, possibly headed to Holly Tirith at this point. And so this ship is coming is coming your direction from the island. Unable to really navigate in time to go a different direction, the ship pulls up very close to you after a few hours. But by this point, everyone's been able to prepare in case of its hostility. Whenever you look over though at the other ship, it looks empty. It looks like a ghost ship. Like this ghost ship just kind of sailed up next to you. Suddenly you hear a noise, and you hear like a metal kind of ringing against wood. And you look over, trying to find the source of this, and you see a grappling hook had landed on the deck and tightened itself on the railing. And you look over, and you see more grappling hooks flying over and attaching itself to the ship. And people start, like a whirlwind of activity. Suddenly, these guys are definitely boarding and invading your ship. Probably pirates. If they're not pirates, they're still trying to take your stuff. And your job now is to defend the ship. So people, the fellow sailors start chopping away at these grappling hooks and ropes. Some of them are successful. Others, a lot of the pirates are able to make it over onto the deck of the ship. Allowing, and then a fight, the fights actually start to break out. Arrows are flying over from the other ship. You and Gorkas find yourself in the midst of a good number of these guys, and there's maybe 15 that have boarded your ship at this point. And so you guys jump into the fray and kind of start back to back or side to side. Gorkas kind of goes focusing on one direction, you looking at another. So roll initiative. First initiative of the new campaign.
Not the strongest.
Not the strongest, but that's all right.
I'm not the most dexterous characters, though.
This guy, he's he's dressed in a similar fashion as you. He's got some leather armor on, but it's like leather. It's like patchwork. But he pulls out this scimitar that. He kind of squares off with you, approaches you, and he goes for a swing at you. Actually, he does miss. He runs up and he just completely whiffs. Takes a couple steps back to kind of gauge the dance that's coming, and basically one of his companions comes up, sees the combat happening. And he pulls out a similar scimitar, dressed very similarly. This scimitar coming straight at your chest, but you raise your shield up in time, and it makes a satisfying glance right off your shield.
Bandit 2 is the one who attacked me first, correct?
That's right.
All right. I'm going to swing at him with my longsword.
So roll damage. Oh!
Max damage!
And this just slices right across. You hit it. You slice across the jugular, and blood just kind of sprays out, almost like the ocean spray. But it's got a smell of metal to it. That's metal.
It smells like metal.
And he just collapses onto the deck of the Willow Strider. Gorkas sees your first kill. He raises a fist and he says, "Yes, brother! Bask in the glory of Cord!"
And I take my sword and I like hit it across my shield a couple times.
Nice. Give yourself inspiration. That's good. A third pirate steps up, gives a mighty swing with his scimitar. Wow. Okay. You raise your shield up, but the scimitar must have like gone along the side of the rim of the shield, and it comes in directly into your chest, slashing across, kind of right underneath your arm, creating a very long, deep gash, doing 8 damage to you. And he slings some of the gore off of his scimitar as he smiles very wickedly at you. Then a fourth steps up and wants to press the advantage and goes for another attack on you. This one, however, even in your pain, you're able to bring your shield across and block it. The second pirate that came up on you, seeing you strike down his companion in a single slash of your sword, goes for another attack. And you're able to parry it away with your longsword on this one, kind of recouping your ground, regaining your foothold after getting that attack.
And just, I guess, I'm going to use inspiration.
Okay.
Just through my pain, I'm just going to yell, "Cord, give me strength."
Oh!
Cord! I feel your power.
All right, that'll hit. Roll damage. You guys crit each other, dude. And he's watching you block and then parry, and dropping his scimitar a little bit, just enough for you to have time to sweep across and completely sever his head. Body just falls right on top of the deck. Head, because of the movement of the ship,
it rolls back and forth. I slap my sword against my shield and I point it at the next bandit.
Nice. This last bandit, pirate that stepped up, is starting to become uncertain. But seeing that his comrade is still in the fight with him, he finds an opening, and he goes in to do a bit of damage, dealing 3 damage. Happy with it making a little bit of contact, slashing across your arm. He steps back just as like a precaution, seeing what happened to the last guy that hurt you. Second one steps up and he takes another attack, connecting on this one, and doing another bit of 3 damage. You go for another parry with your sword, but it kind of glances off and nicks your arm again. Suddenly, out of all of this, you hear Gorkas. His voice just thunders across the entire sea. His voice seems to crack like it carried the sound of thunder almost, but you knew it was Gorkas. And you look over, and you see that that pirates had surrounded him, being the tallest of all the crew and the most threat. Everyone around him had fallen prone, and he stood as almost like a glorified statue with both arms raised. He lowers them very slowly, turns to you. He says, "Brother, Cord has awakened." And so exposition. It was this moment that Bishop Balin struck the Moradin's anchor into the earth and restored the power of the deities to Nevin. And you feel, so back to you, Desmond. You feel the sudden surge of energy, of power. While you don't fully comprehend and or understand this unlocked potential inside you, you feel a presence, a very strong presence. These practices, these ideals that you've been pursuing and learning and trying to fill your daily life with, and just honing your mind on and doing your daily meditations, seems all of it becomes very focused. And you've unlocked all of your clerical abilities now.
I can do everything?
Everything?
Ooh, snap. I'm about to go crazy. I'm going to, as a bonus action, cast Divine Favor, which is a level 1 spell.
Your weapon attacks deal an extra 1d4.
And then as my attack, the bandit, I'm going to swing my longsword.
Nice. Dealing 9 damage to him. You cut across his stomach. You don't cut too deeply, but he reaches down in a scream and almost like he's holding his guts in. You know that you didn't cut that deeply, but he is bleeding profusely. This pirate that was already feeling very uncertain of himself and now has a giant slash across his stomach, abandons his post. He drops his sword and he goes over to one of the ropes leading back to his own ship, and he starts trying to climb across it.
Was this guy next to me, like leaving?
Yeah. Attack of opportunity to go ahead.
I want to use my Warcaster feat, which, as a reaction on attack of opportunities, I get to cast a spell instead of just doing a melee attack.
Okay.
And I'm going to cast Guiding Bolt.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So roll damage.
Like I just kind of look at my sword that's glowing now that I've set a prayer to cord, and I just kind of, point my sword because my hands are both full. I can't like shoot it out my hand, so I just point my sword towards him and just let a stream of energy out of my sword towards him.
Oh! He turns his back to you and he runs to one of the grappling hooks. As soon as he does, you cast this guiding bolt as this streak of radiant energy hits the back of this pirate. You see you don't see fully his face, but you see a little bit profile, just burning light, just kind of flashing through his eyes and his mouth. And instead of a scream, you just hear this almost like a very high-pitched ring as this light just bursts from the opening, whatever opening it can find, and he just crumples. And he made it far enough to the edge of the deck to where he just kind of tumbles over the side. You hear a splash. Last bandit. He's not letting up. Takes a swing at you. He kind of jukes to the side and goes in for a swipe, but his own juke kind of set him off footing, and he misses, trying to regain his footing. He pulls his sword back, trying to be as defensive as he can.
As a bonus action, I'm going to healing word myself.
Okay.
And just go for a regular attack.
Okay.
And I'm going to activate War God's Blessing.
Okay.
To give me +10 to that.
What's War God's Blessing?
It's my channel divinity that I get once per... Or no, not War God's Blessing, I'm sorry. It's called Guided Strike. And so it'd be 18 instead of 8.
You see that you misjudged your swing. But almost through your own will of allowing Cord to channel through you, you feel Cord's guided hand himself thrust your sword. Nice. The bones from his chest stop your sword from going too far. But you definitely crack bone. He looks around. He sees that his immediate comrades have fallen. He sees other comrades all over the ship have fallen. He's not escaping. This is his last attempt at at survival, or really doing anything at all. You slap away the weak swing, and are presented with the opportunity for a counterattack.
Okay. As I look around, is there still combat going on with everybody, or is this the last guy that
It's winding down?
Okay. I'm going to cast Hold Person.
He looks confused suddenly, realizing that he can't move, but he's clutching his chest. He's more concerned with the pain that he's experiencing, and he just kind of looks at you, defeated.
So he's paralyzed.
Yep.
Assuming this is like the last guy and he's just going to be held here, I want to bonus action Cure Wounds him so that he doesn't like bleed out as he's,
It'll be Healing Word is the bonus action.
Okay, Healing Word. Make sure I get it right. Okay.
Okay. Wow. Nice. So you see his wound, his broken bones begin to magically mend back together, and the wound seals up. There's still evidence of a sword piercing there, but the pain that he's experiencing goes away, and he still can't move.
Okay. And then I look at him and I kind of point my sword towards him and say, "Don't move." And then I'm going to turn my attention to anyone else who needs my help or anything else.
So you see your fellow crewman aboard the Willow Strider celebrating in victory, picking up the bodies of dead pirates and tossing them overboard. You see other pirates on board the other ship, scrambling to get the sails ready to sail away, and they've already kind of just started to drift away, realizing their defeat. And maybe one or two people aboard the Willow Strider fell to the pirates, either by arrows or just being overwhelmed. But Gorkis definitely stepped in and did a number. You can tell which ones were killed by Gorkis and which ones weren't. Captain Lazarus stands on top of where the above deck where the wheel is. Desmond, bring this scoundrel to my quarters. We will have words. And he's got like this manic look in his eyes, like kind of high off of the victory. A normal man would have struck him down, but you did not. There is something special about you, Desmond Voz. And he turns to the pirate and he says, "There is nothing, however, special about you." And so he kind of takes him and he drags him like to the kind of dragging him off to the quarters. And like the pirate is like, he's got wide eyes and he can't move, like other than being pushed by Captain Lazarus. He kind of looks back at you almost like, "Help me," kind of a thing.
When he looks at me, I want to say to the pirate, "Respect the captain, and you may yet live."
And Captain Lazarus hears this as he pushes him into the captain's quarters, and he says, "Also, maybe not. We'll see." He shuts the door behind him, and then Captain Lazarus gives basically a victory speech, just building off of the hype of winning the fight, and announces any spoils should be gathered and distributed equally among the men, and that there would be a celebration once you reach port, paid for by the captain. And so that he goes back into to his quarters to question the pirate, and Gorkis comes over to you and he grabs you by the shoulders, and he says, "Cord is alive, brother. Do you feel him?"
I do. I feel Cord's strength in and around me.
The times are different. Things will change. It's time for me to go home. And he just gets this huge, big smile on his face at the words. Hearing him say it out loud almost made it real to him. All right, so we're gonna fast forward a little bit. You guys reach port. You celebrate one last time with your fellow sailors and with Gorkis, having an extra round with him. In celebration with him. And the next morning, he goes on his own way and encourages you to find, and encourages and wishes you well and good luck on finding yours.
Cord's strength, brother. And I do one of the hand clasp things.
Nice.